Hello, it's Mike Rhyner of Your Dark Companion here, wanting to thank you all for joining us on patreon.com throughout the year, or that portion of the year that we've been doing this. Also, don't forget to check out the Sunset Lounge. There you can find podcasts such as The Clubhouse. The Clubhouse is your one-stop shop for all things sports, pop culture, entertainment, pro wrestling. Who knows what else these guys might get into. I love these guys. They're great. Since 2010, they brought their knowledge and passion for these subjects and so much more to the internet in a way that is entertaining and engaging. Their show is family friendly, so it's okay to sit down with grandma and be a part of all their shenanigans. They are the Clubhouse. They're at the Sunset Lounge.
Nobody would have thought that I would be the one. Rhyner, sports talk. Baseball, 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 baseball.
Oh, with the big mic. Oh, okay. All right, yeah. Okay, now I get it.
We had a lightning strike, boys. What happened over there, Grego? We had a little lightning strike right outside the window.
All right. Here's a tip for all these Americano League teams.
Wait, you said tip?
Yeah, tip.
Okay.
With a P.
Keep jamming.
The ticket, colon, nothing but a big Gen X jerk-off say.
This is a cool night or what?
Although somebody would hear that and go, bullshit.
I'm back, bitches.
And good day, one and all. Welcome into another episode of Your Dark Companion. We're delighted to have you with us today. Even more delighted that the mosquitoes, which are the urban blight of our homely little abode here, are being taken care of outside. So if you're hearing something that sounds like yard stuff going on, it's not yard stuff. It's bug stuff. It's mosquito stuff. And it'll be done quickly here. So it won't be a perennial thing throughout the presentation, I don't think. Anyway, good to have you in here with us inside the nurturing biosphere of the mothership. This is episode number what? 142?
143.
143.
Yeah.
Wow.
Don't shortchange this.
I can never keep up with it.
There's so many.
It's awful. And this is the 18th of August.
Yes.
So,
That's
all right.
accurate.
We've got all that squared away. And today we're going to visit with Bart Stevens. Bart Stevens is an Irving guy. He is involved and has been involved in the recording business. We're going to get him to tell you why. But they funneled some of his stuff over to me, and a lot of it had to do with the guys that he has worked with or been around or been somewhere involved in the process. And that list, I must say, will stun a mastodon. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. Looking forward to talking to you and finding out just how it is that you do this thing you do. That's what we like to do in here.
Good.
Now, you are a local guy here, right?
Yes, born in Wichita Falls, raised in Irving, Texas.
Did you go to an Irving high school?
I graduated from Irving High, yes.
Ah, one of the Fighting Tigers, no less.
That's what they tell me. I wasn't really up on all the social side of the world, but yes.
And something along the line somewhere, probably I suspect, when you were pretty young, because that seems, if the music bug is going to hit you, it seems like it starts when you're really young. That's the way it was with me.
Right.
And it's the way it was with just about everybody else I know. Is that how it was with you too?
Yes, but I'm not a musician. I just love the storytelling and the music itself. And as a kid, I spent a lot of time with my dad, driving around in his Chevy truck, 8-track tape, listening to Dean Martin or Charlie Pride. And so that was my early influence in music. And so carrying on through middle school and high school, I developed my own taste. And then just loved music, wanted to be part of it.
But never had the urge to play it yourself or anything like that?
Not officially. I own a couple guitars. I've played a couple Christmas songs, and that's about it.
Oh.
So
if you're not going to play it, but you want to be in music, that means you got to start looking at the other sides of it.
Right.
And the side that you started looking at, if I understand this right, was the recording side.
Correct.
And the way music is recorded, the way it's packaged and produced and gotten out there to the masses. But you're mainly a studio guy.
Right.
Is that what first infatuated you?
Yes, I wanted to be on the technical side. And so back then, there was no schools for that sort of a thing. So I ended up with a degree in radio and television broadcasting, went to East Texas State out in Commerce, worked at the school radio station, hung out with the technicians, and absorbed as much as I could about the final product and then how things worked on technology and electronics for that day, which would have been tubes and transistors and stuff, not chips.
And somewhere along the line, something made you say, screw it all, I'm moving to Los Angeles.
6 weeks after college, I was headed west in an MG Midget with 3 grocery bags of clothes and a bicycle to work in music.
Did you know anybody? Did you have any connections out there?
I did. I had a couple things going for me. One guy that I had, he was a year or two older than me. He had gone to North Texas State. He was a drum major, musician. He had moved to Los Angeles, and he was working at a studio called Bill Schnee Studio over on Lankershim. And the year I graduated, I went to Los Angeles for for a broadcasting convention, and I went by to see David at Schnee Studio. So that was my first inside there. During college, I worked at Chili's, of all places, and I worked at the Arlington one right by the ballpark. And so my manager at that time, this is when Chili's was starting to expand the menu and the locations, my manager moved to Los Angeles to start open stores. So guess who I lived with the week I moved to Los Angeles?
Your Chili's manager.
I just moved in with John, my Chili's manager. And he wanted to put me...
whatever works, you know?
He wanted me to work the day after I arrived. I said, I got to find a place to live. But yeah, Chili's was good for me. That's where I ended up meeting my wife later as well.
Whoa.
So Chili's has been good.
I think we need more of that story.
Yeah.
So, what was the first thing you did once you got out there and got settled enough to start down the path that you would eventually wind up on?
It's about who you know, unfortunately, 100% in that business.
Oh, yeah.
And so David couldn't get me a job, but he said, hey, I heard Mama Joe's is hiring. I heard so-and-so's hiring. And at this stage in the career, you're a gopher, you're a runner. You're making coffee, you're picking up dry clean, you're doing whatever.
Anything for anybody at any time, day or night.
Yes. And so don't know exactly how I ended up where I ended up, who sent me there, but I went to a place called Martin Sound. We were off the beaten path. We were in Alhambra, of all places, on Valley Boulevard, and a beautiful 2 rooms there. And because of all the technical stuff that I had learned through working on electronics, and we had the largest tube microphone in Los Angeles, and we had tape machines, so they hired me right away to be an assistant. There was no runner. I was the runner and the assistant, so I had already got a promotion out of the box, is how I looked at it, because first sessions I was assisting and learning. But to get to that point, I was networking, reaching out to people I knew, following on leads, looking for work at one of the different places that it was hiring.
I've known a lot of people who did the whole move to LA thing, and a good number of those hightailed it back here pretty quickly. They said it was just too intimidating for them out there. Did you find it that way?
No, I don't think so. I right place, right time. It's nothing. I'm not miraculously talented in any way, but I knew some people. I proved myself. And I spent a few years at Martin Sound. Then I got an opportunity to go to work at Bill Schnee Studio, the same one I had visited a few years prior. Yeah. It was great for me because it was on Lankershim. It was between Universal Studios and George Barris's custom shop. And if you know the name George Barris, he was a car builder, built a Batmobile, and little things like that. So I'm a car guy. So that was really great for me. That was my second studio job, is right down the street.
So let's get into the Bill Schnee scene, because that is a name that I know, and that is a studio that I know, and there is a lot that's gone on in that place over the years.
It really was. Bill, still alive. He's in Nashville now. He's got a book out. I think it's called The Producer. I forget exactly what it is, but it's a pretty good book. You'll learn about his career with Ringo Starr and Richard Perry and all the different amazing projects he worked on. Steely Dan, Dire Straits, all these different things. But yeah, it was a great time, and there was a staff of us at that point. We had so much work going through the place because Bill was a world-renowned mixer. He was known worldwide for mixing, so taking all your individual stems, if you will, combining those down to stereo with the special touch. And really, when I started there, we had no automation. So your faders were manually moved, and Bill was a showman for everybody in the control room. You know, he was swinging his arms and doing all this sort of stuff. And so we had these manual consoles, and then we had a little return section. And as the assistant, I sat behind that. And sometimes on mixes, my job was on this bridge or this chorus, I was supposed to raise this fader and do this and change this reverb and this. We were manually doing all that. And then while working at Bill's, we got what's called GML faders, George Massingberg Labs. So this is 1986 computer-based software on a console, an analog console. So that changed the world, because then you could hit a button and it would remember your moves.
That was revolutionary stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah. But Bill was known for his talent. The studio itself was known for the room. People just loved the room. For example, the Toto guys, if they were in and out of there all the time, either as Toto or as session players. So it was an opportunity for me to get to know people like Jeff Porcaro and people like that on a first name basis and see them over and over and over. It was really fun. But we worked on a lot of Warner Brothers jazz and pop music. So Kenny Loggins, Klaus Ogerman, Yellow Jackets, James Newton Howard. Yeah. And Bill had already done some Natalie Wood and other great things that I wasn't part of, but all the way down to Boz Scaggs. And
I've got a list here of some of the stuff that you've been involved with. And number one, this list will stun a mastodon. And number two, it seems to be largely filled out by artists such as that. I mean, a lot of those people that you just ran across, and a whole lot more. So I want to just throw some out at you.
Sure.
And you tell us what you remember about working with these guys.
Can I make up some stuff if I forgot?
If you want to.
Okay.
I mean, what are we going to do? Fact check you?
Here's my disclaimer. Some projects I worked on for 2 hours, and some I worked on for 2 years. So some of them I didn't meet the artists. Like I worked on a George Strait soundtrack. Okay, it's 8 seconds, that movie. When you open the CD up to the soundtrack, you got all the producers on the left-hand side, and my name's at the top right. All I did was tape transfers for 2 hours. So people were like, oh, yeah. And then I worked on Beaches with the Bette Midler deal, but I never saw her. We were just doing menial stuff. So all these things I ended up on, I was no big player on some of those. But then again, I spent 2 years with Boz and 2 years with Michael Jackson. So there's all these things that some I have more stories than others.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big Boz guy, and I will be interested in what you have to say about him. But you just mentioned Jeff Porcaro a minute ago. And for those who don't know, Jeff Porcaro is no longer with us, but there was a time when if you were going to lay something down that was pretty serious, he was the guy you wanted on drums in Los Angeles.
He was the A-call. He was, if you've listened to Jackson Browne, you've listened to Steely Dan, you've listened to so many, the term yacht rock, a lot of that was Porcaro.
Yeah.
And his dad, Joe, was a percussionist. So we know where he learned that. And Steve Porcaro played the keyboard, and then Michael played bass. So a powerful family. Jeff was such a great guy, and he loved Schnee's. This is the 80s, and he was making an instructional VHS on how to drum. So guess where he chose to do it? Schnee's, because that was where he was most
Sure.
comfortable. He was so nervous. He was a nervous wreck. His mouth was all dry. He kept messing up his lines. His dad was off to the side trying to encourage him. He was a nervous wreck, but we were at Schnee's. He was in his comfort zone, and once we got him comfortable, then he did his, here's how you do these, and here's how you do those sort of things. So,
And legend has it that he was, I never have been able to get anybody to drill down on his age for sure, but he was very young at this time, wasn't he?
yes, I don't know, he and Lukather and all those guys, I think some of them went to school together. So I don't know exactly their age, but I would guess they were born in the mid to late 50s.
Yeah. I don't know. I always heard that by the time he was in his late teens, he was doing sessions with Steely Dan. He was playing on Katy Lied and stuff like that.
Well, that
born
would have been the
54.
70s. Yeah. So that could have been.
Wow.
Yeah, he was just masterful, and he was a, so you'll appreciate this. So he was a drummer's drummer. He was good at what he did.
Yeah.
He could play the kit. There was one Boz song he played on. I'll tell you a whole Boz story later, but there was this one Boz song, Heart of Mine, and it was a ballad, power ballad deal. It was a beautiful song that Jeff had done, and the record was turned in, wasn't approved at all. They had to redo the whole thing. It got replaced by a drum machine. And I had a copy of it, of Jeff on that song, and I shared it with people at one point, and it was just a beautiful song. But later, further down the career, Jeff's a session player. He's got to pay his bills. So when he's called in to do sessions, he shows up. Well, one day we're working on Michael Jackson, and this is so sad, but he was called in to play hi-hat.
Just hi-hat.
Just hi-hat with the machines.
Wow.
And we were in Studio 2 at Record 1, and everybody left the room except Jeff and I. And he looked at me, and he's, Brother Bart, and he just unloaded. He was cussing. He was so mad that they had called him in to play hi-hat. Why don't they bring me in to play the real stuff, He was furious. And he was a cool cat. He drove his T-Bird. He had a 62, 63 T-Bird. At that point, I was driving a 55 Chevy, so we would talk cars. He was a great guy. He went way too early. His funeral was incredible. They were playing Hendrix through the PA system all through the... and Rick Rubin was there in his flip-flops. I mean, it was just it was a really great event of life. What do you call it? Celebration of life.
Yeah. Shoopy,
What?
at my funeral, I want you in flip-flops.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Okay. All right.
Flip-flops and shorts. I promise.
Now, probably the biggest name that I see you connected with here is that of Michael Jackson.
Yes.
Now, Michael Jackson has been talked about inside out there, but I don't know if I've ever run into anybody that had any real, like person-to-person connection with him. Mm-hmm. What's he like?
I'll preface it by saying I was not a fan of his music. I didn't know a whole lot about him. And I was working for Ocean Way, and I'd been there about a month. And they said, we're going to transfer you out to Record 1. We need you to work on the Michael session. So I show up. It's lockout, which means Michael paid for 12 hours and no one else could come in to the other 12 hours.
Yeah.
So the studio would stay set up. And they had already been working. The crew had been working on the album about 6 months already. So I come in, I'm the new guy, because this is Bruce Swedien and all these other guys who had worked on Bad and Thriller with Quincy.
Yeah.
And this was Michael's first producer role. So he wore many hats. He was producer, singer, songwriter. So I come into the session not knowing a whole lot about him and not a fan of his music, okay? So the first day, we're in Studio 2. It's a small API console. I'm sitting at the back behind the tape machine, and Richard Contrell was the engineer. Brian Loren was the producer. Michael comes in the front door, and he comes up the steps, and he comes by the console, and I get up, and I walk straight over. I'm 6'3", 200 pounds, my hair down to my shoulders, stick my hand out. I'm Bart. he told me later, he goes, you scared me so bad that day. I thought you were going to hurt me when you came at me. But so I tell you all that to set the preface that I didn't know the guy. So I just treated him like another schmo because that's the way that I am. And it seemed to work because we bonded. I can truly say Michael and I were friends. I worked on the album 22 months. I ended up working over 5 years at Neverland Valley, building out with another guy the sound system throughout the house, the lake, the train, the amusement park, all that stuff. So
A sound system on the train?
Oh, which train? So there was the small scale train, like you got at the Fort Worth Zoo. And that one had a little sound system on it. But that one on Family Day, you had like about 90 gardeners at that point at the ranch. It couldn't handle the load of all the people on it. So he wanted a full scale train. So he bought a full scale train that was being converted from coal to liquid propane or something like that. So myself and Brad, the guy that we worked on all this together, we were hired to go to Mount Pleasant, Iowa in November to install the sound system. So when it was delivered in November off the flatbed, they had a full sound system.
Holy crap.
And you had to go to Mount Pleasant, Iowa to do this. I didn't even know Iowa had a Mount Pleasant.
It's over by Illinois. So, yeah.
How many cars was this train?
It was called Elizabeth after his mother. So it had the engine portion and the back where the coal used to be. That's where we converted that. That's where our rack equipment was. I think there were two. You can probably fit your pictures online. And there's train station. If you got a train, you got to have train stations, right?
Sure.
So yeah, that just some interesting things along the way.
Everybody thought that he was just so incredibly bizarre. And I guess, growing up the way he did and being thrust into the spotlight and the cult of personality at a very, very young age, that will do stuff like that to you.
Absolutely. He had no childhood. I talked with Schnee after I worked with him. I talked with Bill Schnee one time, and Bill worked with him when he was a kid.
Yeah.
He said that he came in and he was sitting in the chair, his feet were swinging, and he was the only one in the band, it was the Jacksons at that point, that cared about what was going on. He was a professional as a kid. And so being around him all the time that I was, talking to him about family and life, he wasn't married at this point. We talked about all the different things that some friends would talk about, and he just missed out on his childhood. We'd go to the ranch, and it's 2,500 acres, and he'd take us around on the golf carts and show us this and show us that. And, I've got stories about water balloon fights and all sorts of stuff at the ranch.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was just a big kid who never had a childhood. And the house, the ranch was set up for kids. The main guest there was like Make-A-Wish Foundation and some other groups. So every time we were designing or building or installing, when you walk up to the giraffes, you had to go up these steps so you could be the right height so you could pet them. And in the elephant area, we had to have symphony music, because if they didn't have their symphony music at night, they started picking up their poop and throwing it all over the place. So
he does that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then there was a barn, an old red barn that was truly a working barn. We converted that to what was called the reptile barn. And there was about 8 or 10, there was a hall down the middle and 8 or 10 rooms on each side with glass on them. And there was Madonna, the albino, what's the snake starts with the B? The
boa constrictor?
Boa constrictor, yeah. And then there was rattlesnakes, and there was this and all those sort of things. And, this was back in a period where we didn't have MP3 players. We didn't have all this. So each animal had a story. So a voiceover was recorded, and when you came in, you grabbed a set of headphones and you went in front of the display where there was a little information. You plugged your headphones in, you hit a button, and we had a loop where you would hear, "This is the so-and-so, it's 33 feet long, and this is this, and this is that." And the craziest thing about the reptile barn for me was in the rattlesnake area, the lighting was dim in there, and along the lower portion, it was kind of painted where it was supposed to look like a brush, and lighter blue, I think, on the ceiling. So it was supposed to be the sky. And at one point, when people would come in, the term PZM microphone, the flat microphone, like you might put in a piano or something like that.
Yeah.
We had one of those on the ceiling, and we had a speaker by your feet. So the people that would come in, the guests did not know when the rattlesnake went like that, they would hear it by their feet and scream and back up. And one time we had an issue with one of the microphone deals, and I had to climb about 40 feet on my back underneath all these snakes to go work on the rattlesnake section. That was probably the scariest thing out there, other when the lion would roar at us, but that's a different story.
Golly. No thanks.
Crazy.
So back to your original question. He was a really nice guy. He was really generous with his time, with presence, and he wasn't trying to buy friendship. It was just, he just loved to give gifts, and so he was a neat guy.
It had to, like you said a minute ago, it just the way he grew up and everything, it had to just be impossible being him and trying to satisfy expectations of everybody and everything that went along with that.
And he tried really hard to get out. Like at this point he was still driving. He drove a GMC Jimmy, and he would put on fake sideburns and a mustache and a hat. He'd go to Tower Records. I mean, he would go out and do stuff. And he would always wear these just really tacky disguises.
Yeah.
And one time we were at the ranch, and me and him and my nephew went into Solving, which is a little, I don't know, it's a Dutch city or something very close, and all sorts of artisan craft work and stuff like that. Michael's a large doll collector, European dolls, like high-end dolls. And so we would go visit some of those shops. And one time we were walking the streets of Solving, and this guy comes up with a camera in his face and starting a video camera. And back then, VHS camera required a small truck to move around. This guy had it on his shoulder, and I had to play bodyguard. And, it was difficult watching him not be able to just be a regular person.
You mentioned a minute ago about you did a lot of work back in the day in the realm of smooth jazz, I guess. And I was having a conversation just a couple days ago with somebody about that whole scene. And I kind of got into it a little bit for a little while myself. And there was a lot of good tracks that got laid down back in those days. But I was telling him, there used to be radio stations who their whole format was built around that. Mm-hmm. And they just went, no, that can't be. No, it's true,
We had a station in Los Angeles called the Oasis.
We did too.
Did you? Well,
yeah.
I just got in
Doyle worked there.
I just
The one in LA.
Oh.
Jeff K worked at Oasis in LA.
Was it Oasis? I don't know.
I just got in an Uber the other day, and the guy it was smooth jazz stuff. I go, what is this? Because I thought I heard Dave Koz or Richard Elliott or Joe Sample or one of the guys that I'd worked with right away. I mean, I recognized some of the stuff, and I'm like, what are you listening to? And it was a pay service he was listening to. It wasn't terrestrial stuff.
Yeah. Well, Crusaders were big players in this for me, and Joe Sample is on your list here.
Yeah, big old hands, Joe Sample.
I loved him.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, he was one of the guys. He and Larry Carlton were the guys that really made the Crusaders great. Mm-hmm. What was he like to work with?
I didn't get a lot of personal time with him, but he was just extremely talented, and I remember that. I do remember the size of his hands, man. He could master that keyboard and soulfully play the keyboard. Stuff like being around guys like him or George Benson and guys like that. They're just cool. Just cool, just to be around them.
Right.
Then you get people like Little Richard,
Yeah.
We did a thing with Philip Bailey and him for the Twins end credit song, and that was a Little Richard as a character. I'll just say it that way.
What about Miles Davis?
I worked on one of his projects, but he was not there. I forgot who the producer was on that one. That was back at Ocean Way, I think, where we did some stuff. Probably just overdubs. A lot of times, the main artist is not always around if they've got a producer that's taking care of that. Like Anita Baker, like I said, Bette Midler, some of those different ones. Dolly Parton. I think she showed up. Yeah, she showed up. We were working on a Straight Talk or one of the movie soundtracks for that. So, but not everybody comes around.
Yeah.
So.
What about Mick?
I do have a funny Mick story. So, a real quick history. Are we on time restraints?
No, sir.
No,
Okay.
no.
So Ocean Way had 2 rooms right at Sunset and Gower. And then about 2 doors down, they had another building that was the old United Western. And that's where Sinatra and all the big heavy players recorded in the 50s and 60s. Ocean Way purchased that. So it became Ocean Way 1, 2, and 3, Ocean Way A and B. For example, Ocean Way 2, which was a smaller room, Pet Sounds, Beach Boys stuff. That's the kind of stuff that was done there.
Yeah.
1 was the big room. That's where Satriani did some of his stuff, live stuff. I worked on a Diane Warwick thing in there. But 2 was the medium-sized room at the end of the hall. And Jagger was doing solo stuff with Rick Rubin, and Flea was playing bass, and Billy Preston was playing keyboard. And on that particular deal, somebody else was assisting that. I was doing Satriani in 3. And for some reason, somebody couldn't show, and so I ended up just doing 1-day session. Mick wasn't there, but everybody else was tracking and doing stuff. But that was incredible to be in the room with Billy Preston. Just, because he was in the control room. Because in that days, we're talking about direct inputs from some keyboards, so they didn't have to be out being banged with the drums. But the Mick session and the Rick Rubin session lasted for quite a while. And one day, so when you come in the front entrance of Ocean Way 1, 2, 3, you make a quick right and then a quick left, and there's a long hallway. So Studio 3 is off to your right. The hallway dumps into Studio 2, and you make a left back into 1, which is the large room with the Neve 8108, and just a big string date. Like I've seen pictures on albums and different things where it's like, well, that's Ocean Way. You can tell by the room. Jagger and then we're working in 2. So I'm in 3 with Satriani and Andy Johns, who was my hero. And the room, the entrance, the control room had an entrance, and the studio had an entrance into that hallway. And our walls are about 18 inches thick. So straight across from Studio 3 was the tape vault. So I've got a load of 2-inch tapes, which probably weighed 10 pounds a piece, and I've got about 4 or 5 of them. I'm 200 pounds, and I'm going straight from the studio into the tape vault. And this little British guy comes walking down, and I nearly flattened Mick Jagger. I would have been the guy on the headlines. Kill Jagger. We had a brush up in the hall there, but neither one of us fell, and he didn't get hurt. But I'm just so thankful. That's my encounter with Mick, but I didn't hurt him. So.
Did he give you a sorry mate or anything like that?
No, it was truly my fault. I'm the peon. So it's
giving a scare to Mick Jagger and Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty good.
That is pretty good. All right, this is Bart Stevens with us today here on Your Dark Companion. And right now, we'll get back to Bart in just a second. Have a little water over there if you want, because I got to do this. Now, you may be asking yourself exactly what is this? This would be the dreaded and feared mid-show read. What if you could free yourself of pain and sleepless nights and anxiety and stuff like that? There are a lot of people in this world roaming around out there who are in pain. They take this for it. They take that for it. They would do just about anything to get rid of it, but they just can't because none of this stuff works. Well, what if I told you that there is a way to do this? And you can do it naturally. Is that something you'd be interested in? Well, if it is, let me tell you about the CBD House of Healing, because this is exactly what they deal in over there. It is a women-owned CBD boutique. They can help. They would like to help. They carry only products from their lab made to the highest purity and highest quality standards you can possibly imagine. Their owner is also a registered nurse, someone we know very, very well. She emphasizes building trusted relationships based on education and giving you the knowledge you need to care for yourself. That's what they're all about over there. That's their ultimate goal. They're not going to come in there and have them tell you what's wrong and give you something and send you on your way. No. They want to tell you what they think is going on. They want to show you whatever it is they're going to give you can do for you and how it works. how you need to take it, what you need to know about taking it. That is their ultimate goal, getting you to care for yourself and get rid of whatever it is that's wrong with you. Find your relief from aches and pains, the emotional stress, and drain and sleep again. CBDDallas.com is where you'll find them on the internet. They're at 8550 Plano Road, Suite 101. That is in the northeast quadrant of the burgeoning intersection of Northwest Highway and Plano Road in Dallas. Begin your healing at the House of Healing. Got one more? Okay. Thursday, August 28th. Is this what we're supposed to do here? Yep. All right. Thursday, August 28th, it's Rough Riders Fantasy Football Draft Night. And YDC and the whole Sunset Lounge is going to be out there for this, going to be holding their draft party. And we would like to invite you to the draft party. You can catch our draft live at 3:30, then come on out to the game. Use our special code, Let's Ride 25, and get a ticket preloaded with $6 good toward your first Thirsty Thursday drink or at concessions. And remember, every Thirsty Thursday, the Lazy River is 21 and up. So join us out there this week for Thirsty Thursday at Riders Field.
Next week.
Oh, next week?
It's okay.
Screw me.
But just show up to Riders Field anyway.
Yeah, just show up to Riders Field anyway. And if nothing's going on, it's next week.
Every Thursday.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Just show up every Thursday. Just for the heck of it. See what it's like out there. All right. We got Bart Stevens in here with us today. He has had lots of different recording experiences with lots and lots of big names. Let me give you another favorite of mine, and you tell me what your thoughts on him and what your time with him was like.
Okay.
Boz Scaggs.
Oh, Boz. So a local guy, as you know. Mm-hmm. He was living in San Francisco, and this was with Bill Schnee, and he and Bill had huge success with Silk Degrees and some other stuff. Tons of respect there. Boz hadn't made an album in like 8 years or something like that, and he wanted control. And I can't remember who it was, if it was Al Teller or who it was at the record company, but whoever the record executive was hated Bill Schnee. But Boz loved Bill Schnee because they had a working relationship and success. So Boz and Bill are producing, I would say producing this together. I don't know what the liner notes, I don't remember what they say, but I'd say they produced it together. Top musicians all the way across the board, all the Toto guys.
Yeah.
And plus other A-level session players and, saxophone, all the different things. It was a great album, acoustic, meaning, real players, real drum kit, real this. And they never shared the album and the progress with the record company. And so Boz was living in San Francisco, and he would come down for some of the sessions, and we would sometimes do mixes or overdubs. And one of my jobs, this sounds crazy today, but one of my jobs was we would finish something. Bill would mix it down to 2-track, quarter inch or half inch. I can't remember what we were using this for, reel-to-reel tape. I would take that over to Burbank Airport and do counter to counter through, I think, PSA Airlines or something like that. Fly it to Boz. He would get it that night, listen to it, and then give us his feedback. Then we'd work on it again the next day. So pre-Pro Tools, pre-internet, pre-all these things, that's how we did it to keep the project going. Like I said, Boz
Man,
would
it was a
come
real
down.
process back then, wasn't it?
Yeah. And Boz, like I said, Boz would come down for some of it sometimes. It depends on what we were doing. But they turned the thing in, and it was completely rejected by the record company. Just start over.
Wow.
And we're talking about Marcus Miller and all these great, Nathan East, and all these great players had been, the budget had been used up, if you will, and all this sort of stuff. So then, going forward, the Schnee Studio was still the home for Boz, if you will. So Bill was kicked out, and about 4 or 5 producers came in, and each one had like 2 or 3 songs. So as you move forward, Boz and I are the only 2 people on this entire project. So people are telling him to do certain stuff, and some of these producers were not the same quality as Boz, and they were telling him, "Oh, you need to do this, you need to do this." And I
What do you think about this?
Well, he would roll his eyes at me and then afterwards complain about what was going on. But during the session, we couldn't.
Yeah.
You know, there was nothing. It was all just.
Yeah, you got to
poor
be a pro.
guys. Paul Jackson Jr. and these guys were playing and all this sort of stuff, and it was just one of those deals where I felt so sorry for him. And then when the thing was finished, it had no punch. It's called Other Roads. It's a picture of him on a motorcycle in the front. But you listen to Heart of Mine and boop, boop, cheesh, boop, boop, cheesh. You know, it's a little drum machine now instead of Porcaro banging away with all his passion. So I felt really, really, really bad for that. But Boz was a great guy. He told me he always wanted to do a blues album, just a solid blues album, which now he has done. Mm-hmm. And I've heard some of it, and it's like really good. It's very soulful. And that was Boz.
You know, I kind of feel sorry for guys like him that have one big album that is just so big and so career defining and so all encompassing that it just overshadows everything he does from then on.
Yeah.
And he had that with Silk Degrees. And it's not like that he stopped putting out quality stuff, because I would listen to everything he put out after that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's good.
Yeah.
But it's just tough for guys that find themselves in that situation where, you know, and the crazy thing is, most of them go through their entire career wanting that one big album that is career defining. And then when they get it, they find there's a whole nother side to it that they never even thought about.
Right. Then they're chasing that next one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's just a really unfortunate thing about the career of Boz Scaggs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the album he did, if they had taken it, was it as big? Would it have been the same?
Oh, it would have probably got more adult contemporary play for sure, because it would have had the names on it, and that mattered. You know, from the Lindrum or Jeff Porcaro, or all these different things. But it was a whole new set of players, a whole new set. Songs are arranged different, so it was a completely different album. I mean, some of the songs are just great. In fact, when I got married in 1990, we did our first dance to Night of Van Gogh, which is on that album. You know, there's some great songs on there.
Yeah.
But the the final version of them is not what it could have been. Or should have been.
Do real guys play on records anymore? Or is it all just Lindrums?
I'm not.
That's not funny.
I don't claim to know what happens today because I don't really listen to a lot of today's music. Sorry to say. I don't know what happens, but the music that I like, yes. There's drummers and my wife will say that. Hey, they're using real musicians. Well, imagine that. So.
Can you always tell?
No, not in today's world. There was a product that came out called a synclavier. Have you heard of a synclavier?
Is that SYNCLAVIER?
I think so.
Yeah.
There may be an I in there as well. But in the early 90s, these were, I don't know, $100,000, hundreds of dollars. They were very expensive, and they were early sampling devices. So you have to realize that when I was at Schnee's, we had no sampling, which means digitizing. So we would take Porcaro or somebody, and they go out and go, okay, hit a tom-tom. And we would have this one device that would record for 3 seconds. So that's all we would get. So we would record or sample a kick or a snare or this. But a synclavier had this bank of memory, and it could play back all sorts of stuff. It could create sounds, and it was way ahead of its time, and very few people had them. We had one on Michael's project, and Bruce Swedien called it the most expensive sweater warmer he had ever seen because they weren't using it. So synclavier is I don't know, I'm sure it's a plug-in today, but it was and Knopfler used them, can I tell you a Knopfler story?
Yes, I'd love a Knopfler story.
Huge in college, huge Dire Straits fan.
Me too.
And
to this day.
So I graduated from college in '84. I moved out to Los Angeles that summer. I end up starting to work at Schnee's, I think '86 or '87, and I'm telling him about Dire Straits, and he's just not buying it. And Money for Nothing comes out, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, they're really good. You know, everybody loves Dire Straits now. It's like, well, this is what I've been telling you for a couple years. So, Sinead, one day he says, "Hey, guess who called?" You know, I never know who's going to call him. He goes, "Knopfler called. He wants me to mix. He's working on a movie. He wants me to mix it for him." I'm like, "Excellent." He goes, I'm going to Paramount. You want to go with me?" Sure. So we go to Paramount. We go in the mixing room, and Mark Knopfler's right-hand guy is Guy Fletcher. He's a keyboard player and sampler at that point, Synclavier and all the things that they used. So they're mixing this movie, and I'm watching it up on the live screen. I'm not working. I'm just a guest at this point. Bill's mixing. And watching all this, and I'm watching this movie, and it's kind of interesting. A Princess Bride.
Good Lord.
So I get to meet Knopfler, and it's The Princess Bride. It's like, wow, looking back on that. So he and Bill, Mark and Bill, developed a good relationship. Mark came to Sinead Studio to check out the room. He liked it. He got a gig on a Randy Newman album. James Newton Howard was producing some of it, and Mark Knopfler was producing some of it. And he decided he wanted to do that at Sinead. So I got to work with Knopfler as the producer and guy on Randy Newman, which he's a case in himself. Just he's like a Chevy Chase kind of guy. He's way out there. But so all the time I was working in the studios, I collected guitar picks. So I would ask the players, "Hey, can I have a pick?" And most of the time it was yes, and sometimes it was, "I don't use a pick," or this, that, and the other. Knopfler didn't use a pick.
Yeah.
Okay, so you will greatly appreciate this. Bill Sinead's studio was completely decked out. I mean, it was a Art Deco kind of place, 4166 Lancashire, and had curved glass wall, and swirlies on the carpet. The men's room had gold records everywhere. I mean, it was just, you're standing at the urinals and there's gold records. You're standing there reading gold records. So if you can imagine this, Knopfler's taking a leak, I'm taking a leak. And I go, "Mark, I know you don't play with a pick, but I collect picks. Can I have your thumbnail?" He stops peeing and looks at me. Because you can't believe what I've just said. Finishes, washes his hands. We go out. He gets a pick out and he plays with it and he gives it to me.
Nice.
So in my collection of guitar picks, I always have to tell that story.
The only way to make that story better would be if he gets fingernail clippers out and cuts a little bit off and gives that to you.
Yeah, and you're a true fan because you knew he didn't play with a pick. But I think it says Charlie's guitars on it, I think is what his. I've got like 30 something. I've got Spinal Tap and Kiss and all the different guys I've got picks from through the years. So,
who's a favorite guy you've ever worked with?
I would probably say, and it's kind of weird that it worked out this way, a guy named Andy Johns, his brother Glenn Johns, the two of them did the most influential music in the 70s and 80s.
Yes.
I'm talking everything from Bad Company to Zeppelin to a little band called the Beatles. And
if you read liner notes, those are names you know.
Yeah. So Andy Johns did my favorite album, which is Exile on Main Street, okay, which is Mick and the Boys, okay? So that was a wild time during those guys' lives. And Andy Johns told me tons of stories when I worked with him. I won't go into detail, but he had a few addictions, and he was just a wonderful guy. We would work really late in the night, and he would call my wife while I was driving home and tell her how great of a guy I was and all this sort of stuff. So he's the producer engineer on this one project I'm working on, and the artist is Joe Satriani. So Andy had just finished doing Van Halen stuff. Joe is already successful on his own, but he wanted this bigger rocking sound that Andy could produce. And the two of them together, the synergy in the room, my respect for Andy. Joe was an incredibly nice guy. Joe and I are still friends to this day. So I've seen Joe probably 30 different times. I just wrote a book. He read it and wrote one of the blurbs for the back of it. So I feel I have to say that's the most special relationship because it's continued for 30-something years. I worked on The Extremists, which was his most successful commercial album, if you will.
Yeah.
And so Summer Song was the song that most people know from that. It was used on a Sony ad and some other things.
Right.
So
tell us about the book.
So I love music history. So I've been studying music history while I was in the studios. I started, when I'm working in a building that Sinatra and all these and Pet Sounds and all this sort of stuff happen, I started digging deeper to learn more about the history of recorded music. So I found out that I got to work at some of the most incredible places. I started digging more. I was really fascinated by Stax and Motown and just Otis and Sam Cooke and all these guys. And
Did you ever go there? Mm-hmm. You went there to see that?
To
Stax?
Memphis? Yes. Yeah. A friend of mine was the executive director at the museum, so I went pretty regularly. So I studied all that, learned and read as much as I could, and Booker T and all those guys, and I just loved that side of it, the musician side of it, and how it all interweaved together. That was my career that I studied. Well, my hobby was automobile racing, so I have studied that as deep or deeper. So I know way too much useless information. In fact, I have a little present for you in the car. I forgot to bring it in. I was running late.
Oh.
So
It's a thumbnail.
So what's that?
It's a thumbnail.
Yeah. So I love music history and I love racing history. So I took two real people, a real musician and a real racing person, and I did tons of research on their lives in chronological order and how things worked. And then I fictionalized that they were best friends. So in my story, I've got two real people and a lot of real stories that happened, but I fictionalized the friendship. And I chose my guy's, his name's Sam Nunes. He's out of Reading, PA. A lot of people around here don't know him, but he was influential in the racing industry up until he died in 1980. For his sidekick, if you will, for his best friend, I chose Robert Johnson. Because he died in 1938, but in my story, he faked his death. So I get to do all these sort of things. They meet, so Robert and Bobby, Robert goes by Bobby now because he's a pastor.
Right.
Because you sold the soul or you do whatever, People lay the Bible down and go the other way. So he and Sam meet every year just to reminisce and run down memory lane. So the book takes place on August 16th, 1977. Do you know that date?
Believe I do.
Yeah. So that's the day they meet every August 16th because that's the day that Robert Johnson died or faked his death.
Yes.
So their meeting this particular day is 1977. So while they're there reminiscing in the morning, telling stories, and then in the afternoon it comes across the TV, Elvis has just died. So I had to tie that whole thing in, the faking his death, and Robert faked his death. Michael supposedly faked his death. So I was like, I gotta make this part of the story. So I have true stories, some fictionalized stories, and I interviewed tons of people that knew Sam Nunes, and I've read dozens of books about Robert Johnson and where he was and where he wasn't and some of the different stories. I weaved all that together. So I have this story of these two best friends meeting at the Miller Grill in Maryland every year just to run down memory lane and run every traffic light on memory lane. So that's the book.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Robert Johnson had quite a bit of history here in our fair burg, did he not?
He did. I recorded at 508 Park, and in my story, I got to fictionalize that he actually, so that was 1937. So in 1936, he recorded in San Antonio. And so I've studied a lot about the Centennial and Dallas history, so I just made it where Robert Johnson came to the Centennial on his way to San Antonio. So I've got him placed at the state fair during that period as well.
Nice.
And the book's called what?
The Miller Grill.
The Miller Grill.
Yeah. And that's a whole play on words because Miller was a car builder and blah, blah, blah. So it tells in the story how the restaurant got its name. So.
Wow. Hardly realized that about you.
Yeah.
Let's see. I had a couple of others here that I wanted to touch on. What about Fleetwood Mac?
Oh, boy.
It seems like Fleetwood Mac always had an interesting scene.
Well, I have to be careful.
To greater or lesser degrees.
Stevie Nicks is still alive, so I have to be careful what I say. So there was a compilation album called Rock, Rhythm, and Blues, I think it was. Richard Perry was doing it. Richard Perry is who Bill Schnee worked with on Ringo Starr. He was a big-time producer. So he reached out. I don't know if he did it or Warner Brothers. I'm assuming it's Warner Brothers. Had these little guys like Elton John and Manhattan Transfer and all these people doing cover songs of rhythm and blues stuff from the 50s. So Fleetwood Mac was scheduled to do. I forgot the name of the song now. Accentuate the Positive. You know that song?
Yeah.
So we were scheduled at Schnee's, Fleetwood Mac. Mick comes and sets up his drums. Everyone is there. Christy McVie, everyone's there except Stevie Nicks. The session happened during the day. The rumor was that she couldn't work during the day. She only worked at night. So you do the math on why that was the way it was. So it became Christy McVie and Friends. So if you read the liner notes, it's called Christy McVie and Friends.
Yeah.
But it was a great session because they were playing. Do you know the song? Did you find it? Accentuate the Positive.
Accentuate the Positive.
I just want to bring up, this is the second time we've talked about Stevie Nicks in the last 7 days. And both times have been, we've discussed that there might be some reasons behind why certain things happen. And it makes me chuckle every single time.
So do Christy McVie and Friends.
Okay.
Rock
maybe
me.
that's why.
Yeah, you'll find it that way. I want to say Dr. John song or something like that.
I see the Dr. John song. Let me find the.
Anyway,
on YouTube.
so that was the Fleetwood Mac. It was only a couple days. Wasn't big, but it was just they're just doing this one song.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You got it, Shoopy?
No?
That does not want to be found.
Rock, Rhythm, and Blues, I think is what it was called.
Oh. What about Olivia Newton-John?
We were just doing overdubs, and I think some mixing took place. Alan Sides, who owned Ocean Way, I believe, was producing that one. It was one of those things. I think on that particular one, I had a choice to do Olivia Newton-John session-wise. The guy goes, "Hey, we've got new sessions coming up. Do you want to do Olivia Newton-John or you want to do this Budweiser commercial?" I said, "Well, I'll choose Olivia Newton-John." And then I was very happy I did because I think because of the timing I did that, I think I ended up on Satriani. And had I done the Budweiser, I would have ended up on Neil Young. I mean, not Neil Young, Neil Diamond. And you know there's only two kinds of people in this world. Those that like Neil Diamond and those who don't. That's a Bill Murray quote from What About Bob, I think.
No, I'd never heard that, but I can see it. I mean, there are a lot of people who say the same thing about me, so, you know.
I have a question for you.
that.
I have two questions for you.
What's that?
When you were at the zoo, did you do the noon news?
No.
So there was that, when the music stops on the Rock and Roll Zoo, that's news from Denton to Decatur.
Yeah.
That wasn't you? You weren't part of that?
No.
Okay.
But I was there then.
Okay.
I was there, but by the time that rolled around every day, I was long gone out of there. I did the morning show then.
All right. Second question for you is, what was your first concert you went to?
Ooh.
My first concert was Eric Burdon and the Animals at the Fair Park Music Hall in 1967.
I figured that's where it was going to be. That's where my brother saw Zeppelin and some other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I had a chance.
Yes. I was going to bring it up if you weren't.
Oh. Are we wallowing in
We have
something?
a miss.
Yeah, we got a pretty big miss here on our hands.
Very sad.
There was a concert that came around in 1964, I believe. At Memorial Auditorium. Memorial Auditorium was the biggest room that we had here.
Did the artist stay on Stemmons Freeway? I mean, when
As a matter of fact, they did.
in that hotel that it became a jail?
Yes.
don't know
As
what
a matter of fact, he did.
I don't know what that could be.
And it just so happened that they caused quite a furor, and one of the ones affected by that furor was my sister and a number of her friends. And they really, really wanted to go to this show. But to do this, they were going to have to talk their parents into letting them go. Talk their parents into paying the exorbitant sum of $4.50, if that, for a ticket. And that did come about. All that came about. She talked my P's into letting her go. A number of her friends did too, and there were 5 of them that were going down there to see this show that night. At the last minute, one could not go. It just so happened that my mother was the curator of all the tickets. And I have a memory that will haunt me forever of her standing on the kitchen floor, holding up that ticket and saying, "Mike, you want to go to this, don't you?" And I went, "No, I don't want to go to it. I want to go see Kimball and Hillcrest tonight at Sprague Field."
High school football.
Yeah.
True and true.
And keep in mind, at this time, I'm in the 8th grade. I had no business there, you know, but I was absolutely convinced that I was going to go up there and find some chick to mug down with or something like that. Never mind the fact that I was such a nerd that there was no way that was ever going to happen. But I went, "No, I'm going to the Kimball Hillcrest game tonight, Mom." She said, "You sure you don't want to go?" And I go, "No, I want to go to the game." And I was like, "Okay." And she took that ticket to the Beatles show at Memorial Auditorium and went on about her business.
Wow. What a giver you are.
Yeah, I really am.
When are you going to take time for yourself? That's what I want to know.
I was going to say, that was the last time it was ever generous.
Yeah. I learned a valuable lesson that night.
Look out for number 1.
Oh, wow.
Is that the story you wanted?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Well, they were all getting teary-eyed, so I was...
We were ready for it.
Yeah, that's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
that was not my finest moment.
Yeah.
The best part is the high school he was going to lost.
Oh,
Yeah, they did.
That's right.
14-7.
wow.
He still remembers the score.
Oh yeah, I do.
Wow. I had nothing to that dramatic, but one of my roommates worked for Word Records, and he was friends with a keyboard player who was playing organ for Stevie Ray Vaughan, and we went to see him at the Wiltern, down in Wilshire area of Los Angeles. And my boss, Schnee, had a brand new Toyota MR2, which was a mid-engine sports car. The craze in the this was in the late 80s, and he let me borrow it. I don't know why. So I drove to the Wiltern. I was running a little bit late because I'd come from a session, and you can imagine LA traffic. So I get to the Wiltern, and I find parking. Surprisingly, I found parking. I parked. I go inside, and I meet Mark. The concert at Stevie Ray Vaughan. You know, Stevie Ray Vaughan is Stevie Ray Vaughan. So that was great. And I'd seen him at the Greek and some other places, but this particular show was really good. So we go backstage to meet the keyboard player guy. I didn't meet Stevie Ray Vaughan, but we meet him. So, it's a late night, and I go outside, and the car's gone. I had parked in a restaurant parking lot, and I didn't realize it when I pulled up. So my boss's car, his new car, had been towed. So that's my painful concert story.
I've got a.
What was that conversation like?
Oh, it was very difficult with Schnee. He was a tough man to be around sometimes. But we had fun. He loved. There would be times we'd be mixing. He'd be mixing. I'm assisting, doing whatever I do, and then he'd go, "Okay, close up." Like, where are you going? He goes, "We're going to the Laker game," because he had passes. So we would just stop and go to a Laker game and come back. There are times. I remember one time we used Glenn Fry's seats and we sat on the floor. I mean, I was just this kid from Texas. I didn't know where I was going, but there were some fun times at the studio, that's for sure. And in the Michael days, man, there were practical jokes constantly, just constantly.
Fun times indeed. Sounds like you've had your share.
Yeah, I want to tell you one quick story about Slash.
Okay.
So, in the 1990, The Simpsons had just premiered. They had their first season, and they did an album called The Simpsons Sing the Blues. You might want to get a copy of that because I have vocal credit on it, and it did sell hundreds of thousands of copies. But Slash came into play on that, and so you have to realize Bart Simpson was huge at this point. Everybody was talking about Bart Simpson in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
So Slash comes in, and before he shows up, we're told this is what we have to have for Slash ready. Okay, this is a Sunday session. He's supposed to get there at noon, and here's his list. It's really short. It's really sweet. It's It's truly rock and roll. All we needed to have was whiskey and cigarettes. So
easy enough.
He shows up. We're doing these overdubs. Bill Bottrell was the producer engineer on that particular one. I was the assistant once again. So I'm making sure mics, tape machines, everything's, as an assistant, you came with the studio. You had to make sure the thing worked. You were the liaison. You had to do everything. So in this case, they're doing overdubs and Slash finishes this riff deal. And then Bill says, they talk back and forth. Oh, that. What about this? He goes, Bill says, Bart, will you take over the tape machine? I want to concentrate more on listening to what Slash is doing. So Slash stops and he comes over to me and he kind of parts his hair like this because he can't really see his eyes. And he got really right up to me and he goes, dude, your mom had no idea when she named you that. He was talking about Bart and the fact that Bart Simpson... And so it was just this weird interaction. That was pretty much all he said to me the whole session. But here's the cool thing. I have that recorded. I play it back during my presentation when I do my speaking about the book. And I have dialogue of Michael and I talking about cooking and all sorts of stuff like that. That are fun memories that are, I tell people, I go, some people make up stories. I said, but I got video and audio. I got audio to back these up. So.
Well, we appreciate you coming in here and regaling us with some of these stories.
Yes.
You do have
Incredible.
them.
I do. I've been blessed with all that. So when you put the microphone in front of me, you said that I was setting it up. Can I just when I was in the studios and we would do we'd set up microphones. I got to work with some of the best tube microphones in the world. So we would always have to test the mic, right? So I've been to hundreds, if not thousands, of concerts, and when you hear a guy go up and go test. I hate that. So 45 years ago this year, a movie came out, and I memorized part of that movie. And for 45 years, I can still recite that. And that's what I use for my microphone test. Can I do my mic test for you?
Please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Universal Amphitheater. Here it is, late 1980s going on 1975. Late 70s going on 1985. So much of the music we hear today is pre-programmed electronic music. We never get a chance to hear the master bluesmen practice their craft anymore. By the year 2006, the music known today as the blues will exist only in your public library. So let us welcome tonight from Rock Island, Illinois, the blues band of Jolly Jake and Elwood Blues. The Blues Brothers.
Nice.
All right.
That was my mic check. And I usually say it about 100 miles an hour, but I try to slow it down so you could.
That's pretty strong.
Some of those words.
That is a good mic check shtick.
Way better than test.
No, I hate that.
Well, thank you for doing this today.
Yes,
It's been a delight to meet you, to hear your stories. You've got them.
Thank you.
That's what we like around here is stories.
I get to say I'm a longtime listener, first time caller. Can I say that today?
You can say that.
Okay, thanks. I always wanted to say that. It's not true, but I wanted to say that. So.
Oh.
Well, I'm glad you did. I haven't heard that in a while. All right, let's see. Do we have any other reads we need to do here?
Your normal reminder to everybody. Share us.
Okay. Yes, that's what we need you to do. If you like what we're doing here, you need to turn others on to us, because that is the way in which we get a word about this thing out there.
You don't have to read it. I just telling you what it happens.
Okay. All right. No, I do want to read it. That's why I get everything in. You can find all of our episodes on our Patreon page. You can also find us on YouTube. It's everything to those of us who swim in the waters of the podcast. And while we're at it, if you're feeling what we're doing around here, then how about a nice review? If you're by the channel on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can help others find us by leaving a review. So you do that for us. We'll keep doing this for you. Thank you, Shoopy. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Becca. Bart, pleasure, man. Enjoyed having you.
I'll be in Fort Worth Wednesday, August 20th, Angelo's Barbecue, doing a full Michael Jackson presentation for my book event.
All right.
Whoa.
So,
All right. So check that out.
yeah.
All right. That'll do it for YDC for today. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.
All right. I'm gonna go take my pants off.
Your Dark Companion is a Stolen Water Media presentation.